Hi, my name is Dean Paul Deniston, and today we'll be replacing the throttle on your Razor E100 series electric scooter. This is a pretty easy procedure, and it should take you roughly 20 minutes from start to finish. As for tools, you're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver, an 8mm open-end wrench, a pair of scissors, one zip tie, a 3mm Allen wrench, a standard screwdriver, and some soapy water. This is a 4-step procedure. Step 1, removing the deck lid. Step 2, removing the throttle. Step 3, installing your new throttle. And Step 4, installing the deck lid. Before we get started, always remember to turn off the power. Let's get started on Step 1, removing the deck lid. There are 6 Phillips head screws securing the deck lid down. 2 in front, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the tail. All 6 screws are the same size, but the rear 2 have 8mm nuts on the bottom. Go ahead and grab your Phillips head screwdriver and start removing these 6 screws. Once you get to the rear 2, you're gonna have to use your 8mm open-end wrench to hold the nuts from spinning. Now that all 6 screws are removed, we can just go ahead and lift up the deck lid, move it out of the way, and set it aside. That concludes Step 1, removing the deck lid. Now on to Step 2, removing the throttle. This step involves removing a bracket, cutting a zip tie, removing a few cable ties, tracing your throttle, unplugging a plug, and sliding your throttle off. The first thing we're gonna do is remove the bracket. Looking in, you'll notice there's 2 Phillips head screws holding down a piece of plastic, securing 2 cables. We're gonna remove those 2 Phillips head screws and slide the bracket straight up. Both screws are out. Now let's remove the bracket. Taking it straight up. If you look behind your front tire, you'll notice a zip tie securing the 2 cables to the frame. Pull out your scissors and cut that off carefully. Now let's remove the cable ties. All these little twisty thingies, just twist them right off. Now that your cable ties are removed, make sure you keep track of them because we're gonna reuse them later. Locate the cable coming out of the throttle, trace it on down, and then unplug it. In the battery tray, there's a trap door you can lift open so you can remove the plug. Slide the trap door all the way out. Make sure when you remove the plug, you don't lose the little rubber grommet securing the wires together. And slide the wires out. Now that you have your plug removed, we can go ahead and get started on removing the actual throttle. Take your 3mm Allen head wrench, insert it in the screw on top of the throttle assembly, and start loosening. Once you got it a little loose and it starts to spin, slide it back and out of the way, as far as it'll go. Next comes your standard screwdriver and your bottle of soapy water. Pry the screwdriver under the grip, lift it up as much as you can, and spray that soapy water in there. Once it's in there, start twisting and remove that grip. It may take some finagling, but it'll come off. Now that the grip's off, go ahead and slide off the throttle assembly. Make sure when you take it off, you do not lose the plastic spacer. And now Step 3, installing your new throttle. Just slide it on. Take your black spacer, make sure you install this. Slide it in. Next, slide on the grip. You may want to use a little bit of soapy water to make this process a little easier. Once your grip's fully on, slide the throttle all the way against it. Take your 3mm Allen head wrench and tighten it down. Now that the throttle assembly is mounted, let's secure the cables and plug it in. Take your throttle cable and run it back down and into the battery tray. Once it's through the trapdoor, go ahead and plug it in. You're going to want to make sure the grommet is securing both the cables going into the battery tray. There's a slot in the trapdoor for the rubber grommet to sit in. Now that the rubber grommet's down, put the trapdoor back on. Now let's reinstall the cable ties. Just find the end, twist them open, and wrap them around all 3 wires. One down, 3 more to go. You're just going to want to space the first 3 evenly until you get to the bottom of the brake cable. The 4th cable tie goes close to the battery tray. It only goes around the 2 cables because there's only 2 there. Now that all your cable ties are installed, grab your zip tie, slide it through the little slot, and secure the wires so they don't drag on anything. Take your scissors and cut off the excess on the zip tie. The zip tie is all secure, now let's install the cable bracket. Set the bracket on top of the wires, line up the holes, and put your screws in. The cable bracket's secure, and that concludes step 3, installing your throttle. Now into step 4, the final step, installing the deck lid. Take your deck lid, set it on top, line up your screw holes, pull out your screwdriver and your screws, and secure it down. Remember, for the rear 2, you're going to need your 8mm wrench along with your Phillips screwdriver. That concludes step 4, installing the deck lid. Now it's all back together, go ahead and flip that power switch back on. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this process easy. But if you are still having any troubles or complications, please feel free to visit the customer support section on Razor.com. Good wishes, little fishes.